Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 111 of Mini Truckin Magazine, March 2001. There's a lot to talk about with this issue. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We go all the way back to issue 1, so everything's in playlist. You can check it out. But let's jump right in. This is David Wilt's of WiltBilt fame, Tuckin Taco. So, like I said in the past, the Tacomas have a lot of cool names, a lot of good spin off of, the taco name. So Tuckin Taco, I do tend to forget the names of these individual Tacomas, but this builder doesn't get enough credit, David Wilt, and this is his third truck to be on the cover, and it might actually be the first, which I didn't talk about when his second truck was on the cover. But think about this. Todd Wilt had 3 trucks on the cover in a short amount of time. So it's this issue, 111, issue 96, which was December 99, and issue 100, April 2000. So you had the hopper and you had the Ramster. So pretty cool stuff. Now, I want to ask if you guys happen to know what year truck this is. The reason being is some of these features did not mention the year truck, believe it or not, and I want to update that. It's kind of a blank in my database for cover truck years, right? So if you guys happen to know that, please comment, or if you can hit up David and let me know. It'll be appreciated. Something I'll talk about towards the end is how many cover trucks had these wheels. Arelli, I think is how I always say I'm wrong, but I'll talk about how many cover trucks and which number this one was out of the total that were on the cover. So again, bear with me to the end if you can. Leave a comment, and again, consider subscribing. This is Lance's 13th credited cover, and the model is Annette Homan, Homan. If you want to check out our website, our lifestyle podcast, it's the first link in the description. We've got old school paying homage to MT stickers, shirts, hats are on pre-sale. Check it out. But super cool cover. I did see this truck at Indy Truck Bash, and I want to just jump right in. These intros are getting a little longer as I add more data or antidotes. So this month we had the lovely Annette Homan and David Wilt's Tuckin Taco. Photo credits go to Powered by the 3 Hamsters on Crack Marts. Good times. You can see some of the features here in events, including SEMA 2000, Carlisle 2000, some tech, and mini market. You see there, special. So we'll see what that's about. Again, we are going all the way back to issue number 1. We've already done that. And something else to keep in mind is there's 269 issues. So we are plugging away. Here you can see Lance in a land far, far away. Sometimes I'll kind of give a little update on that. But pretty cool. If you guys want to pause this, you could bump it to 4K and check that out. Mini Truckin News on the left, and then auto lock, looks like ad on the right. It's kind of funny, keyless entry is like a thing we don't even really ever talk about anymore because every car has it. It's kind of nice when you have it. My 64 Lincoln doesn't, but my friend Chris owns a 61 Lincoln from Strange Engineering, and it's got some modifications to it, including keyless entry, so it's kind of funny to hear that term. Talk about throwback term of the week. Here is Orange Crushed and Super Clean Ranger. This one was out of the Virginia area. Of course, KMC wheels. You can see the old school logo on the mid. Squeeze, so it kind of ties into the orange theme of the title. And yeah, Ford Rangers don't get enough love. We know that. I think it was super clean. Can't remember if I saw this. I want to say no. At a show, the shows I went to. It's possible. But heavy on some badass graphics. I think it's super sweet. Hi, my name is. So you have Scott Massengill, and he introduces himself there, talking about Wired. Here's a tech article. Again, if you like what we're doing, check out OLP via any podcast app. Really appreciate that. So here you got Indy Truck Bash that eventually changes its name to ITB. Lance writes about that in Street Trucks, and I'd like to tell that story in the future if I can via the podcast. Here, speaking of Todd Wilt, there is the Toyota, the Hopper that was on issue 96, December 99. And again, got to give a tip of the cap to Todd WiltBilt. Or, okay, I always say Todd, and maybe I'm getting them mixed up, and you guys will be able to clarify that with me. Because, see, my brain says Todd, but this is David Wiltz on the cover. So, maybe I'm mixing two people up. It can happen. But WiltBilt, we all know that name. Again, I did see this truck, and I had forgotten where I saw this truck, if it was at Nopi, but I think it was at ITB, because I went in, I always mix up the years. I think I went 02, 03, and you'd see a lot of these badass trucks. I'm so glad that I went. My buddy Russ and I went 2 years in a row. We flew up there, and man, it was a great time. Again, that's where I saw Tuckin Taco, which you can see more than likely it was featured at this event. I've talked about that in a little bit in the past, how you could kind of line up based upon the show coverage, you know, the lead, you know, with this being March, and you think about ITB, there's the famous Ranger that still around, of course. And there's the Twisted Concepts Dakota we recently saw. But you could kind of line them up because there was, you know, give or take about a 6-month lead and, you know, shooting and being ahead of the game and doing those issues. So I'd guess that the truck was shot at this event. Here you can see Caldwell's Blazer. I don't remember the last show that it went to. It seems like it kind of disappeared. Wondering if he still has it. But we, of course, saw it at May 2000 at ShowFest. And, of course, it was here at ITB 2000. Which would have been August of 2000, 6 months prior to this issue. Again, give or take. Here is Sketchpad. Shout out to, I think it's Peter. He's a big supporter of ours, and he does some cool stuff as well. Appreciate everyone watching these all the way through. It definitely helps us out. This truck was always cool. They're promoting the website here. This was featured, I want to say, in Truckin. I always remember those wheels and that grill. That grill is probably pretty rare these days. You see how it wraps around the billet grill. Pretty awesome stuff. I was cruising my Lincoln this weekend. Got a chance to hang out with Kirk from No Regrets. And so far, it was a great weekend. So here you have Mike Reeves, 90 Toyota, and my good friend Jimmy Graham, also known as James Graham, but Jimmy, his friends call him Jimmy. And here is his truck. Now, if you've been following the channel and you had the bell notification turned on, you know that I went through, I lined up the two features. This truck was featured, of course, at Mini Truckin, which we saw recently, and then it also was on the cover 20 years ago this month, at the time of this recording, 2003 Street Trucks, March 2003. Pretty cool stuff. And you know, Jimmy had confirmed that he started rebuilding it shortly after it was shot. And he and I kind of debated a little bit on the year that it was shot. But pretty much lined it up for the most part in the show coverage. But there you go. Truck has never been seen now, or since he sold it. He did confirm to me, I had some of the details a little sketchy. He sold it to a car dealer in Ohio. The car dealer apparently sold it. And at a show, a guy approached him and said, "My friend has your old truck." And after the show, then the guy had confirmed he had sent Jimmy photos, which, you know, back in the day, I don't know if it was like a picture message or what it was, but the guy had confirmed, yeah, here, my buddy has it, and, you know, never heard about it again. Here's Burnt Taco. Ironically enough, Mike Finnegan just posted on his social media. Of course, he's huge out there in social media and had a real successful career. He talked about, check out his website. He was mentioning his old school Mini, and there it is. So Tuckin Taco. This is David's truck. And I do my best to go through these features. Sometimes when if I'm missing a detail, I'll go back and see, did I maybe miss it, or did I scan through it too quick? But I don't believe they mentioned the year. Guessing like 98, 97. Always was a big fan of these wheels, man. And the paint, I don't know what it is on this truck, just is perfect. I always like the grills. And this was also a nice touch, having the backside of the license plate as well done, especially from there. You could easily see it. A spicy dish from the East Coast. And going to ITB, my buddy Russ and I remember talking with him and just seeing how many complete trucks. I mean, we went to a lot of shows over the years, and you'd see a lot of nice stuff, but you'd go up here and just, I mean, that Midwest area, they don't get enough credit. Shout out to Scared of Heights and all the kinfolk that are always, you know, checking us out and supporting us. But I mean, just look, and again, obviously, I mean, show trucks were built east to west, don't get me wrong, but I mean, just complete awesome trucks up there. A lot of nice little touches, even with a normal body drop on it. Put some, you know, some trim pieces in there like that. It's kind of old school by today's standards to have, unless you have an older built truck, to have a raised floor. I know Matt at, you know, the shop, he originally body dropped my truck, and, you know, the truck's being body dropped that way, channeled, you know, however you want to spin it. It's kind of crazy, because nowadays the way guys are building frames, you almost go, wow, did you have to do it that way? Here you can see pretty cool, nice little touch. I always like that cross member here, where it kind of goes around that halo type shape, and then it was also tied in where under the tanks to mount the tanks to the bed floor. You can also see, kind of for some of the newer mini truckers, this was in an era when fastbags were starting to become super popular. People were getting tired of the 1/4-inch lines and slowness, and you could see right there, that was kind of like one of those early manifold type valve deals. So you know, you could certainly, you know, we were running Mac valves, MAC. There was a company here locally, and they were blue just like that. But that was, you can kind of see there was a lot going on. You know, a couple tanks, pressure switch there, air lines, you know, valves, and very similar to what you see today. But obviously things are a lot more compact, especially if you're running like one of the leading brands like AccuAir. They're big supporters of OLP. You certainly, you know, aren't running things that are as spread out as that. Now, obviously, you still can, and there are guys that do that, and that's perfectly fine. You know, whatever fits your needs, you know, for your setup. Trying to kind of adjust this back here, make sure it's not too blurry. But yeah, this truck was just super awesome. Anybody know if it's still around? You could see exclusive styles, the EC, or the ES, excuse me, on the back. APC was a big brand then. Dynamat, Toyo tires, so on and so forth. But just a super clean truck. This was another nice touch that I always liked about it, how the graphic was subtle, but it actually extended onto the dash. You know, the early 2000s, I always kind of talk about, not that dashes weren't painted before then, but you would really start to see guys pulling the dashes, painting the whole thing like you see there. Here, next level, the graphic goes, you know, from the hood onto the dash. But just can't say enough good things about, I mean, this truck as a fan. I was glad I saw it. I've got some pretty cool photos of it. This was always cool, too, when they shaved the taillights. You know, you probably loved it or hated it. But I always thought it was nice on how this lined up real nicely. And those taillights, saw a few trucks up in that area with those taillights and or similar. Maybe not my favorite, but certainly I think it goes well with this truck. But yeah, David Wilt's. And maybe, and guys, and I don't know, maybe for some reason when I think Wilt, I think of Todd Wilt. And I could have got some of those trucks wrong because I was looking for the last name Wilt. were they brothers? Do I have the names wrong? Again, I appreciate any feedback you can give there. But we know WiltBilt, W-I-L-T, Built, B-I-L-T. We know those 3 trucks were from their camp, so that's safe to say. Maximum Effect, super clean, super clean. Mighty Max. Rest in peace, Ernie Macias. You know, he loved his Mighty Max trucks. And this thing is awesome. Derek Gilley, G-I-L-L-E-Y, Virginia. Virginia and that whole East Coast area, they had their fair share of badass trucks. And you know, especially Mitsubishi's, the Mighty Max. I love this thing because the hole inside the bed is stereo. And then you've got the macro cab. I want to say extended cab. Like, I think we all kind of, extended cab, I think, is the universal term for not a regular cab. But this thing is super clean. Tilt bed, all the stereo in it, wire wheels, super awesome. And I kind of like, too, Joe Grieve, shout out to Joe, he shot this one. A little bit different feature. Like, normally this would maybe be your front 3/4 shot or like a 2-page spread. And no, they ran their front 3/4 shot smaller here, Phantom Grille, a little bit different mirror, Alpine. And then you had the main photo was a rear 3/4. So kind of a little different layout. I think the layouts are important for a feature. They were in this era. It's kind of like the sequencing on an album. You know, most people don't really care anymore because, you know, we're streaming and we're just hit play and we've got a playlist. But, you know, the layout of, even in today's magazines, on how the features are laid out or the show coverage is, you know, I think it was always kind of important to me. And I thought that this was kind of cool. It was different, you know, again, rear 3/4 shot here, tilt bed up, interior shot, still dealing with the black and white, if you can believe that, in 2001, but certainly a badass truck. Here is SEMA 2000. And I went in I always get it mixed up. I think I went in 03. Always wanted to go. Got a chance to hang out with Kool-Aid and some of the IF guys and some of their customers. There's the famous 4Runner. Rest in peace, Sean Carlson. That thing, as Jason Redden and other people have pointed out, is no longer in existence. Basically, my understanding is the thing was totaled. It sucks. There is a guy that has the rear doors, I think it is. Here you can see Sport Truck Specialties. So we just saw that ad, didn't we? Could have swore we just saw the ad somewhere. Maybe my strand. Oh, right here. There you go. Perfect. Back when, you know, the 88 and up, you know, you needed a nice cross member. The cross members got a little bit bigger. But Jay LaRosa's S10, super clean. Talked a little bit about him. You know, talking about the Steel Flame mini truck. Here you go. Mike Finnegan's Burnt Taco. Since I just saw that, that's burnt in my mind. And like I said, some of these get a little bit longer, just kind of going through some of the commentary. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. Here is Rob Maggi's. Check out that setup that they had. You could see the setup in some of the show coverage as well. They got pretty big in terms of their setups at shows. Some of the bigger shops did. And it's definitely a cool era. You got Subversive up there. Silver Star Customs. They'd go on to give away the old school Blazer with the newer front end on it. They gave that away at ShowFest. We'll maybe tell that story in the future. Kind of cool. In Submerged, I've been waiting a while to get to this feature. So much awesomeness about this truck. We saw it at Mini Nats last year. And what I would tell you is this feature is cool because to me, I know nowadays a lot of features aren't shot in grass. But I thought this was a nice touch. This was done by Lance and Mike. And, you know, if you think about a submarine and you think about how low this thing, it's just awesome. It's a long bed. The entire bed is tweed and just different sculpture designs and things. And stereo. And it's a time capsule. It's literally, it looks just like this. I think it has the same wheels on it even, but just, man, really, really dig it. And it's funny because it has a for sale sign on it then. And I don't know if it's the same owner, Bill Kent, but we see this truck and it looks the same. And somebody chimed in recently and I think they said, hey, I did the interior on that truck. You know, badass, dude. The truck is, dude, just awesome. Here's Cal Truck Jam, which was so big in the 80s and 90s, and even showing here going into the 2000s, into its third decade. This was an MIC truck, which was, I want to say, a hardbody. I want to say, pretty certain. Seen that in some different show coverage. Here you can see the one, I believe the one show, or one of the only, if not the one. At that point, Cal Truck Jam, you got to remember, was in August. So the Mazda there that we recently saw on the cover, MIC built, it famously went to one or very few shows, I believe one, before it went overseas. And I've tagged the owner on Instagram. You can see right there. I don't know that he brings it out. I don't know what the status is, but the guy has chimed in a couple of times and said, yeah, I'm the owner, so I always tag him, and he always likes it. He's over in Japan. Shout out to Jeff at Devious. I was hanging out with Jeff back in September last year, 2022. And Jeff, you know, got his start with trucks, and he's on to even bigger and crazier things now. Half-baked. You got jokes. What's in the CD changer? I often think if Mini Truckin were to come back, or if it were to still exist, you know, what would these segments be? You know, some of them would be similar, but, you know, this would be, what are you watching on Netflix? You know, I don't know if jokes would be there. What's in the playlist, right? Things would be a little bit different. So here you have Sport Compact. This thing definitely deserved to get featured. And you can see just the graphics, the interior, everything come together perfectly in this thing. This was Tony Navarre, 92 Honda Civic. And he was up in Illinois. I remember seeing that logo on a lot of vehicles. Suicide doors. I mean, this is exactly why they added Sport Compact to the magazine. Because you had badass stuff like that needed to get featured. What's up? There's that same photo. Like I said, that photo may go down as the photo that was in the most magazines. Big Pimpin'. So 2 doors. It's funny, as soon as I say 2 doors didn't get as much love, we start to see a little bit more of them. They were popular in the early 2000s, definitely, and they still are. But I think they're underrated. Because, you know, mini truckers, we loved our 4-door Blazers too. But RA, super badass. This was Paul Emmerich, Middletown, Ohio. And some of these trucks that I can't rattle off that might have been rebuilt, you know, you guys can always chime in on that and go, you know, if some of these were rebuilt to other trucks. You know, the one that I always think of was the silver one, the silver 2-door that I saw at LST this year. You know, I saw it at Indy Truck Bash. That thing has been around a lot. And I sometimes wonder, was that so-and-so's truck? Here is Carlisle, so more than likely where the Ranger was shot, the 93 Splash. Severed. Nissan. This is Thad, so I stayed with Thad this year at Eastbound Get Down. He came down, he owns Chicks Ride and Little Shop. Hot Rod S10. You could see Finnegan. That would have been when he's coming across the country, I believe, hitting the shows. Tony Audius. Ranger, which we did feature on a OLP shirt. You can see there. Again, hypothetically, the truck could have been shot at this show too. You can see it right there. And then there's the Mitsubishi Mighty Max. Super clean. But awesome, man. There were a lot of shows. I guess most of these aren't around anymore. The Custom Shop, right? Airbrush. And then check that out. Tony's. That truck, he still has it, man. That's got to be one of my favorite, up there with Phil Fowler's square body Ranger. So clean, man. I mean, having the whole bed done like that, tucking as much as it did. Featured in one of those early Street Trucks issues at Pigeon Forge. Right around the time my buddy Marlon, that lives pretty close to me, his S10 was featured. Right around that same spot where Courtney would shoot those vehicles. I Dare You to Drag It. And then here you go, MT Graffiti getting down to the end here. There is Joe Millionaire's. Here's Eddie's CRX. Matt did a lot of work on that. This was always a badass truck, how they did the graphics inside the bed. We see this truck recently on the cover. Desirable images. And then we're going to see this truck real soon. So Sean, and I believe I've said his name wrong in the past. That's my bad. It's Ornduff. Anybody know how to pronounce it correctly? Ornduffs, maybe? But this thing, we saw it at Showfest 2000. Thing was insane. And I believe it's no longer in existence, which sucks. But there you have it. This is issue, what did I say, 111? A couple things. So if we look at the wheels, this was the third of 6 cover trucks with Arelli, Arelli wheels. First was Sideshow, and the last, because if you remember Sideshow, it was refeatured on the cover, issue 196, April 2008. So believe I've double checked that. So appreciate all the support, and stay on the rise, y'all. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to flash it up a little bit longer on this one, but hopefully you guys enjoy the details. If you want to leave, I think you can leave a super thanks, but more importantly, if you just want to buy some merch and get something for your money, I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff I'm working on here on YouTube. So keep it posted and turn on the post notifications if you can. Please subscribe. We at ya. Peace. Oh yeah, and Jay's truck is, boom, also right there. Insert photo.